heaven sent.
What is your favorite video game? When looking back on my journey of being a gamer and all the many different influential titles that shaped me into the person that I am, it's always been exceptionally hard for me to decide which games had the biggest impact on me. Whether it was the controller-busting boss fight of Devil Jin in Tekken 2, or the many sleepless nights that were spent in Sears Village picking flax in OG RuneScape, it's safe to say that video games have always been a massive part of my everyday life. And in my 30 years on this earth, there's only yet to have been one game that has pushed me to the brink of insanity, stripped me of thousands of dollars, and left my right arm with over 17 stitches. True story. I'm talking about one of the most popular games in present day gaming, that being Apex Legends. Now, any gamer who hasn't been living under a rock in the past 4 or so years knows a thing or two about Apex Legends. With a player base of over 18 million active players, it's safe to assume that you or somebody you know has also played this game before. And for those who have been a part of the Apex community ever since its 2019 release, I'm sure you already know where this video is going, because unlike most of the games I talk about on my channel, I'm not here to preach about how great this game is. I'm actually here to give a personal insight on the many issues with Apex, and list some of the biggest reasons I believe this game is moving in the wrong direction. So watch out for third parties, because it's going to be one hell of a fight, as we dive into the woes of being an Apex Legends player in 2023. As a gamer growing up in the early 2000s, I was lucky enough to be able to experience the infant stages of online gaming. You see, for those a bit younger than I, gaming was once in a prehistoric era in which the multiplayer games had to be played in the same household, either through couch co-op or through some method of a LAN party. Now, this was coming at a time when the internet was just getting its bearings, and with dial-up connections being much more affordable and commonplace in most people's homes, most gamers at the time didn't have the internet speed capable of handling a steady connection. That was until the later 2000s with its introduction to affordable high-speed internet, otherwise known as broadband. Now, broadband was a game changer for anyone who grew up in the era of dial-up, as this meant loading web pages almost instantaneously and even being able to buffer videos and download files in mere seconds. It was a massive sigh of relief for any avid internet user, and a godsend for any gamer that was looking to branch out into the many online multiplayer communities of this time. With Xbox Live and PlayStation Online steadily growing in players with every passing moment, many different gaming communities began to form in their fandom of choice, and this in turn led to bring companionship and fun for many gamers all over the world. We went from having 10 people in a room swapping controllers and staring at the same screen to now being able to play together with friends from any distance. This was an incredible time for gaming and was responsible for some of my fondest memories as a young man. But that's beside the point, and enough of me harping on the past, as we've come to a much darker time in present day gaming. I mean, sure, there's always been a fair share of toxic players in any era of gaming, but in the early days, it all seemed to be in good fun. I mean, come on, the worst thing you'd probably hear in that time was how a 14-year-old named XXX Baked Beans boinked your mom while you were sleeping. When it came to online trolling, it was hard to take anyone serious. But nowadays, it can drive some people to pure madness. And as someone with thicker skin than usual, it's typically impossible to ruffle my feathers, especially when you're trying to do so through an in-game chat. But when it comes to getting under my skin and truly leaving a disgusting taste in my mouth, no community does it better than that of the Apex Legends community. Now, don't get me wrong when I say this, as I've actually met some phenomenal people through playing this game, most of which are some of my closest friends. But as with any game that can be downloaded for free, you're going to be loaded down with people of all shapes, sizes, and egos. Emphasis on the ego. Whether you're a good player or have just started playing, it's really all the same in the eyes of the Apex elite. You're dog shit, kid. If you're not 360 wall jump tap strafing your way to a 20 bomb every single match that you play, you're a complete scrub to those type of players, and they're more than happy to remind you of that. These type of players will often run off and die by themselves, only to call you a racial slur and promptly disconnect before you even have a chance at responding. And you're probably thinking, just kids being kids, right? Wrong. These are grown-ass men who, instead of doing anything productive with their lives, have decided to put their entire self-worth into a video game. Now, this may not be a big deal to you, as you may have a squad that you consistently play with already. And for that, I'm happy for you. But what some people fail to realize is that not everyone has that very same luxury. Whether it's a conflict of interest or just a lack of buddies to play games with, some people will spend a lot of time dropping in this game solo. And as a newer casual player of Apex, there is no forgiveness at the hands of the teammates this game will trap you in the lobby with. Whether it's some dude with his mic wide open for you to listen to his newborn child screaming in the background, or the silent assassin, who only strikes with an insult once you've went down or done something they've deemed as unfit in their eyes. It's more common than not that your teammates will either be rude or just be of no help to you at all. And with a game that pretty much solely relies on teamwork to have any chance at winning, it's a tough time for those who are just trying to enjoy the game and improve at their own pace. Now I realize this may not be at the fault of the Apex Legends devs, directly at least. I mean, they can't control how people act, right? While it may not be in their control how their player base interacts with others, it is in fact their fault why these new and casual players are being put in the same lobbies as those of a higher skill set. And this subject is actually what brings us to our second problem in Apex Legends, that being faulty matchmaking. Matchmaking is a very familiar word in the world of online gaming, as it's been a part of the practice ever since its inception. Now obviously when it comes to these games there has to be some type of matchmaking, but what if they could pair you with players of similar skill? That way it could level the playing field and give players of any experience a chance of improving. Well, in theory that sounds great, but in practice, a much different story. Skill-based matchmaking is no stranger in the world of modern day gaming, but is still seen as a controversial topic nonetheless. Some people find it to be useful, but for anyone who has experienced how one-sided and ironic the result of this practice can be, you know exactly how it works. Because not only does the matchmaking in Apex serve to put you in the most challenging lobbies possible, it also wants to break you down to the point of submission until the only thing you spend 4 hours looking at is the ready up screen. And trust me, you're gonna spend a lot of time in that lobby. I mean, I've put well over 5,000 plus hours into this game, literally. And with the present circumstances of matchmaking in the game, I can't even fire a shot without 7 different Revenant players jumping on my head and swinging their $300 heirloom reskins at me. It's a frustrating thing to go from having somewhat of a chance in each match to literally being smashed into pieces by every player you encounter. Now most of the time I find myself looking for reasons why I even continue to play this game, as I'm either being forced into playing a walking simulator the entire match, or I have to fight off the entire lobby for a single pistol that 10 people decided to all rush at once. And some people who are new to this game are probably thinking this is how it's always been, but they'd be wrong about that. As I stated before, I've been playing Apex Legends ever since its release on February 4th, 2019. Throughout my journey of consistently playing this game, I've been a witness to all the many changes and tweaks that have been delivered throughout the game's history. Back in the early stages of Apex, everything felt so much more balanced. It may be true that the majority of players were new and everyone was kind of learning together, but even going into some of the later updates such as Season 2 to Season 3, each match seemed to have a much more encapsulating feel to it and held a suspenseful experience that was addicting for many at the time. Just the way that every match flowed made sense for a battle royale game of this scale. The POIs were bountiful, meaning that players tended to spread out and land in their own respective areas, rather than clustering into one designated spot like they do now. Now there's always been hot zones such as Skull Town or Fragment, but more often than not, these hot zones had plenty of loot and surrounding area to keep the game moving at a steady but suspenseful pace, which made for some fair fights without risk of constant third party, as well as the opportunity to have some intense but balanced endgame. Basically what I'm getting at was the majority of players were focused on a healthy balance of taking smart fights and making it to the endgame to possibly win. Whereas now, people literally just all land at the same spot, and 95% of the players are dead before the first ring is even closed. Meaning each match consists of either dying off rip or spending 20 minutes walking around the map. Now I get that this isn't directly the game's fault, as this phenomenon only exists because of the actions of its player base. But have you ever wondered why this has become so prominent in every lobby? Well, without a solidified factual answer, my best educated guess would say it's boredom. Pure, unadulterated boredom. Why are the players bored? Well, it probably has to do with the fact that you'll be playing Lobby Simulator for the entirety of your gaming session, which usually ends with players cutting their time with the game shorter until they eventually move on from Apex as a whole. And I can attest to this due to my own personal experiences, as myself and the large group of friends I've played this game with for years have all seemingly lost interest at the same time. Although Respawn has finally been making a decent effort at changing this game in the most recent couple of updates, it still just feels like they're too late, as a lot of the problems they've been recently fixing have been problems for so long that it's really unacceptable. We still have server connection issues, still have faulty matchmaking, and we still don't have cross progression. It's problems like these that have caused the Apex player base to become jaded in their experience with the game. And honestly, I just personally started losing hope in it. It almost feels like the soul of this game has been ripped away from it, and now all that we're left with is a monotonous run and gun gaming experience. And as someone who literally loved this game more than just about anything in life, it really hurts to see it in such a hollow state. Now when it comes to the competitive nature of battle royale games, it's obligatory that you have to include a rank system. And if anyone has had experience with the timeline of Apex's rank system, You know how hilarious the journey has been. From the very first rank system being implemented in Season 2, Respawn has constantly found a way to completely shit the bed on how the system will work. From leaving in developer-made bugs that have allowed players to manipulate matches with little to no consequence, to literally making a system where reaching top ranks only requires you to camp your way to the top. They can never find a healthy balance in difficulty, and this only leads to progression between ranks either being too easy or far too difficult. And if you ask me, they probably haven't found a working formula since Season 4 or so. And if there's any sweaty try-hard Wraith mains watching this video right now, you're probably thinking, bro, it's just a skill issue. But really, it has nothing to do with that. As I understand, I don't deserve the title of an Apex Predator, but coming from a player that has been consistently able to reach Diamond and higher ever since the beginning of Apex Ranked, why is it that some seasons I can literally camp my way to the top? But once people complain about it being too easy, then the devs will scramble to achieve a more difficult experience in the next season, which means I'll probably have to sweat my ass off to even get out of silver. To be completely honest, the whole rank grind has become redundant in its own way, as they've been recycling the same 3 dive trails for literally 14 seasons now. We've got the OG trail, the Season 3 trail, and then these guys right here. That's it. Oh, but you get a cool badge to put on your banner and a sweet weapon charm. To hell with that. How about a weapon skin only exclusive to those who achieve a higher rank? Maybe even a cosmetic skin for your character of choice. I mean, they literally could have a ranked rewards store where you can earn currency through your rank games and only certain items could be bought once that rank is achieved. How hard is it to reward your players for their hard work with something a little more unique? But it just seems like Respawn can't be bothered with it. And for climbing ranks to take up so much of your time, you would think they would want to add something a little more special for their players who have really kept this game alive. The ranked player base. But what do I know? I'm just some Joe Schmo with an opinion, right? But before I let y'all go, I just want to know your honest thoughts on where y'all feel this game has gone wrong. And also, let me know if any of you guys are still having fun with Apex in its current state. Maybe my friends and I have just become a bunch of jaded boomers. I'm curious to know how the rest of the community feels about it though. As always, my name is Vincent. I appreciate your company and hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope to see you in the next one and stay safe. Peace.